welcome to Timekeeping. This show will attempt to chronicle year-by-year changes to the Walt Disney World Resort, from exciting new ride openings to the minutia of a store changing names. Join us as we count down to the 50th anniversary of the vacation kingdom of the world. 1982 would see the culmination of Walt Disney's last great dream, but in other ways it was a surrender of those dreams to reality. Epcot was not the futuristic city mapped out in Walt's final days, but it would capture his optimistic spirit. Things would change at the Magic Kingdom throughout the year in both preparation and response to Epcot Center. With the park now open, the Epcot Preview Center would revert back to the Walt Disney story. The sponsor of the Town Square Cafe would switch from Oscar Mayer to Hormel. Pepsi would lose its sponsorship of Pecos Bills and the Mile Long Bar as Coca-Cola would take over multiple sponsorships around the parks, including Refreshment Corner and Tomorrowland Terrace. Nestle would begin to sponsor Sleepy Hollow refreshments. Kodak would take over sponsorship of It's a Small World. The tent structure at the back of Fantasyland would feature character performances under the name Fantasy Fair. The Veranda Juice Bar in Adventureland would give way to Aloha Isle, sponsored by Dole and featuring the now perennial fan favorite Dole Whip. Since ticket books were no longer needed, the booth in Fantasyland became a Kodak-sponsored film and information kiosk. Also, the Plaza Pavilion was quote-unquote moved from Main Street to Tomorrowland, well, at least on a map. Admission media would switch completely to the pay-one price in June 1982. The park hopping option, as well as 4-, 5-, and 6-day options, came in October with the opening of Epcot Center. Annual passes also came into existence in September with the original adult price of $100. A ticket booth structure was added to the back of the Great Ceremonial House lobby at the Polynesian Resort. Also at the Polynesian Village, the Luau received a bar structure, with Bapiti Bay and Tambu Lounge also receiving refurbishments. While not part of the resorts themselves, the Epcot monorail station at the Transportation and Ticket Center opened in June, providing guests with round-trip tour previews of the unopened park. While no new trains would have been added after the additions of the 2 new 6-car trains, Lime and Coral, in 1977, most of the other cars had been extended to 6 cars by this point. Commemorative Epcot tickets were sold with 3-day park hoppers and featured the monorail line going through the park in beautiful artwork. They came in shining, shimmering silver envelopes with the park logo embossed on them. While the park would officially open on October 1st, the entire last week of September was dedicated to cast members and construction worker previews. Some guests were also invited to preview the new park September 28th through the 30th along with cast. On October 1st, Richard Carson and his family were welcomed as the official first family before Card Walker, Florida Governor Bob Graham, and William Ellinghaus of AT&T unveiled the dedication plaque. While Spaceship Earth would have its formal grand opening that day, the rest of the park would have to wait for their ceremonies. Outside the park gates, you could find the gift stop, package pickup and lost and found, and the Kennel Club. Spaceship Earth, presented by Bell System, dominated the entrance plaza. Stroller and wheelchair rental were before the geodesic sphere, and the Gateway and the Camera Center were at its base on the east and west sides respectively. From October 1st, 1982 to May 25th, 1986, Spaceship Earth began with the ride vehicles moving up into the structure through a lighted tunnel, enhanced by a fog machine, and then ascending on a spiraling track up through dark spaces featuring a series of lighted historic vignettes. Marty Sklar attributed Larry Dobkin as the initial narrator, although Vic Perrin has been cited as well through the years. The ride had a very simple and quiet orchestral composition throughout. The theme of communication through the ages is presented in chronological order in settings from people in audio animatronic form. Cavemen are seen telling stories using wall carvings. Egyptians work on hieroglyphics and papyrus as a pharaoh inspects the final result. A Greek theater presents actors performing Oedipus Rex. Charioteers carry messages from a Roman court, while Jewish and Islamic scholars discuss texts. Of course, Rome was burning. With typical Disney whimsy, a monk is seen having fallen asleep on a manuscript he was inscribing. Michelangelo overhead paints the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel, and Gutenberg mans the printing press. Suggesting the rush of 20th century technology, subsequent scenes meld together as the circumference of the ride track narrows. A newsboy hawks newspapers. A movie marquee and film clips represent motion pictures, including Walt Disney's 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, and radio and television are represented. On the right side of the track, the vehicles then pass a wall with angled windows looking out into the stars. A glass wall with a mainframe computer blinking behind it, and a woman observing technical readouts on various screens. On the left side of the track, a man and a woman were seen working at a network operations center with a data map of the United States. As the vehicles reached the large space at the apex of the ride, guests could see, on a planetarium ceiling of the sphere, a projection of this, our spaceship Earth. And then they would pass under a large lighted space station with 2 astronauts working on satellites and a woman sitting in the station operating the controls. Omnimover vehicles would revolve 180 degrees, passing under the woman through the station's hangar so that the passengers lie backwards facing the sky as they begin their descent on a relatively straight track, passing various monitors showing various events and activities. The ride exited into Earth Station, home to the guest relations area and the World Key kiosks, 2-way video communication and touchscreen panels used for information and to make dining reservations and to get other vacation help. Immediately behind Spaceship Earth was the Fountain of Nations Plaza, in between Communicores East and West. Communicore East contained the Travel Port, sponsored by American Express, the Epcot Computer Central, sponsored by Sperry, and the Energy Exchange from Exxon. Computer Central contained the Astuter Computer Review and the beloved robot Smart One. The Electronic Forum with the Future Choice Theater would open in December. The Stargate Restaurant and the Centaurium, Epcot Center's main gift shop, was also on the east side. Communicore West featured a variety of exhibits and games under the FutureCom name, sponsored by Bell System. Sunrise Terrace Restaurant would open in December. Starting in the northeast and moving clockwise around Future World, we begin with the Universe of Energy from Exxon. The show began with a kinetic mosaic, also known as the Radok Blocks, a moving display of rectangular sided triangles that would rotate to alter the projection of the pre-show. Think of it as the first attempt at projection mapping. Guests would then enter and board moving theater cars for the multimedia presentation, including the memorable drive through a large primeval diorama. Exxon did initially have some displays in the exit, but the main post-show was considered the Energy Exchange nearby in Communicore. To the south, Horizons was still under construction, but General Motors' World of Motion was very much open. It beaconed guests with its outdoor Omnimover ramp from the first floor loading area to the main part of the attraction on the upper floor. The unique, self-leveling Omnimover ride went through numerous extensive animatronic scenes, speed tunnels, and a massive model city of the future, Center Core, before proceeding back down to drop riders into the post-show area, called the Trans Center. This was an extensive area with several exhibits. The Bird and Robot Show, the Water Engine Theater, Aero Test, Concept 2000, Dreamers Workshop, and an area displaying GM cars and models were all present. Near World of Motion was the Odyssey Restaurant, a quick-service eatery that also housed first aid and baby care. On the other side of Future World sat Journey into Imagination, presented by Kodak. The main ride would not open until 1983 due to the complexity of the attraction, but the ImageWorks play area and the 3D Magic Eye Theater were ready for guests. The theater initially housed Magic Journeys, a 16-minute film featuring music from the Sherman Brothers and directed by Murray Leonard. A pre-show presentation, anchored by another Sherman Brothers song, Makin' Memories, played before the film during its Epcot Center run. The Dreamfinder and Figment, despite their ride not existing yet, still welcomed guests to the pavilion beginning in October. Like today, The Land, at the time presented by Kraft, featured 3 attractions and 2 restaurants. The main attraction was Listen to the Land, a boat ride. The opening scene featured the Symphony of the Seed, which provided a stylized look at the growth of a plant. The ride had a cast member narrator on each and every boat and featured a memorable theme song with the ride's title. Kitchen Cabaret was a 13-minute audio animatronic show hosted by Bonnie Appetit. It introduced the acts in a musical review and comedy format that advocated healthy eating and provided a primer on the 4 food groups, a thing at the time: meat, dairy, grains, and fruits and vegetables. The show is remembered for its songs such as the Boogie Woogie Bakery Boy, the Mealtime Blues, and most notably, Veggie Veggie Fruit Fruit.
Veggie Fruit Fruit, Veggie Fruit Fruit,
Also on the bottom floor was the Farmer's Market. It was set up as a series of food booths including ice cream, soup and salad, the beverage house, sandwiches, the cheese shop, potato store, barbecue, and bakery shop. The entry floor featured the Good Turn restaurant, a revolving sit-down service location that looked into Listen to the Land. Symbiosis was a 70mm documentary shown in the Harvest Theater. It was directed by Paul Gerber and narrated by veteran voice actor Philip L. Clark. The movie focused on the balance between technological expansion and the protection of the environment. The film showed environmental damage caused by humans and what is being done to fix the damage created. The film was projected on a 23 by 60 foot screen and used a 13-track digital sound system. Moving to World Showcase, 9 pavilions were open on October 1st: Mexico, China, Germany, Italy, the American Adventure, Japan, France, the United Kingdom, and Canada. The Refreshment Port, Disney Traders, the Outpost, Port of Entry, and the International Gateway were not yet built. Starting from the North Entrance Plaza and working clockwise, Mexico opened with El Rio del Tiempo, a boat ride, the San Angel Inn, Cantina de San Angel just outside, and the shops Plaza de los Amigos and Artesanías Mexicanas. The El Rio del Tiempo ride began on a quiet river under an evening sky. It passed a volcano and continued on to scenes of native inhabitants. The ride continued with scenes of swimming, jumping into the ocean, and relaxing at a bar, some of which had been recycled from If You Had Wings at the Magic Kingdom. It would pass a Mexican shop where merchants talked directly to riders and tried to bargain with them while moving along the side of boats via a screen. The finale was a fireworks-filled night sky in modern-day Mexico City, with oversized marionettes dancing in a carousel. While Norway was not yet built, the bathrooms were there. Well, the original bathrooms at least. China featured the CircleVision 360 film Wonders of China. No restaurants or shops were there on opening day, but the pre-show art gallery appears to have been there. Germany featured 2 restaurants, the Table Service Beer Garden and the Süßigkeiten, featuring candies and baked goods. Weinkieler, a wine shop, Glass und Porcelain, selling ceramics, Volkskunst, selling clocks and woodworks, Der Buschwurm, an art and book shop, and Der Teddy Bar, a toy shop, rounded out the pavilion. Italy featured La Originale Alfredo de Roma as its only eatery. The Italy shops included Arcazzi Artigiani, La Gemma Elegante, Il Bel Cristallo, and Isanti. The show within the American Adventure underwent a number of different drafts as finding the right tone and story was difficult. Imagineer Mark Davis worked on a number of concepts for the American Adventure, ranging from a 1975 proposal for a dark ride that was a whimsical and musical exploration of American history and culture, to more serious explorations of American folklore and historical figures during 1976. Concepts during this period would group different figures from across American history together based on shared identities, with a piece based on American humorists putting Mark Twain, Benjamin Franklin, and Will Rogers together. This would eventually inspire the final show, though Davis would leave the project shortly afterwards. Continuing the idea of an animatronic stage show, Imagineering would find a way to distill the history of the United States into a half-hour program. The show's hosts, Benjamin Franklin and Mark Twain, representing the 1700s and 1800s, were initially to have been joined by Will Rogers as a representative of the 20th century. The creative team, however, was worried that Will Rogers wasn't quite as iconic a figure to represent the modern era that could stand next to the other 2 hosts. This reduced Rogers to a smaller role in the Great Depression scene. Below the stage is a 65-foot by 35-foot scene changer. It's called the War Wagon. It moves sets into place horizontally. The drawer moves into place and the appropriate set piece rises from below the stage. It then drops back down and moves under the guest seating area. There are 7 more lifts along the sides and above to help with the appearances of other historical figures. The American Gardens Theater was an open-air stage when it first opened, offering views across the lagoon to Spaceship Earth. Japan centered around the Mitsukoshi department store and the Mitsukoshi restaurant Tempura Kiku. There was also the Teppanyaki dining room, the Yakitori House quick service, and the Matsunyoma lounge. Like Norway, there was no Morocco, but the bathrooms existed. For the France Pavilion, the Palais du Cinéma housed Impressions de France, and guests could dine at Le Chefs de France, the Boulangerie Patisserie, or Au Petit Café. Shopping in France included a cookware shop, perfumes, wine, and flowers and crafts. Much of the United Kingdom would be familiar. The Rose and Crown Pub and Dining Room was the only eatery. The Tea Caddy and the Biscuit Barrel sold teas and cookies, respectively. The Queen's Table carried figurines and china. Pringle of Scotland featured tartans. His Lordship sold tobacco and men's goods, and the Toy Soldier was true to its name, a toy shop. Rounding out the World Showcase, Canada was based around the O Canada CircleVision 360 film. Le Cellier was a buffeteria at the time, and Northwest Mercantile was the only shop. World Showcase also had internal transportation options. The Friendship boats utilized docks in the same locations found today, and double-decker omnibuses circled the lagoon. Opening day entertainment included the Mariachi Cobre and the Voices of Liberty, as well as the Old Globe Players. The Future Core Band would come to the park in December in Future World. The first nighttime show, Carnival de Lumiere, premiered on October 23rd. Like the Magic Kingdom, Epcot Center would be open nearly a full month before the grand opening ceremony. On October 24th, representatives from 23 countries joined Don Tatum, Card Walker, Lillian Disney, Bob Graham, and a 450-member band to dedicate the park and pour water from each of the representative nations into the Fountain of Nations. The other dedications were China on the 3rd, the Universe of Energy on the 4th, World of Motion on the 5th, the Land on the 6th, the American Adventure and Travel Port on the 11th, Canada on the 13th, Italy the 14th, Germany on the 15th, Computer Central on the 18th, and the United Kingdom on the 19th. France and Japan happened on October 20th, Mexico on October 21st, and Journey into Imagination, the latest, on December 4th. Almost 2 decades from its conception, Epcot Center was finally open. Walt Disney World would never be the same, and neither would the entire theme park industry. What had become the world's largest private construction project was not finished either. The cost of the project, now at least $1 billion, would create financial problems that would ripple through the company, as would the park's early failures. Well, time flies. Enjoying your jump from time to time with us? Well, hit that like button and subscribe to support this show and others. You can also join the WDWNT Inner Globe Society for exclusive content at patreon.com/WDWNT. If you're looking for the perfect gear to celebrate 50 years of the Walt Disney World Resort, you can shop for apparel, accessories, and more at carouselofproducts.com. We'll see you real soon right here on Timekeeping.